Welcome back to Bare Metal Cyber. Today we're diving into the world of advanced persistent threats. These are the elite cyber adversaries that operate with stealth, patience, and precision. These aren't your average cyber criminals. They're nation-state actors and highly organized groups executing long-term, strategic attacks with global consequences. In this episode, we'll explore some of the most infamous APT case studies, including Stuxnet, a cyber weapon designed to physically sabotage nuclear facilities, the SolarWinds Orion breach, a devastating supply chain attack that compromised governments and enterprises worldwide, and APT-28, also known as Fancy Bear, a group infamous for election interference and cyber espionage. Whether you're a cybersecurity professional, a policymaker, or just fascinated by the evolving digital battlefield, this episode is packed with insights into the threats shaping our world. Advanced persistent threats, sophisticated cyber operations. Advanced persistent threats represent one of the most formidable challenges in modern cybersecurity, blending stealth, persistence, and sophistication to infiltrate high-value targets. Unlike traditional cybercriminals who seek quick financial gains, APT actors operate with long-term objectives, often backed by nation-states or highly organized groups. Their campaigns unfold over months or even years, leveraging custom malware, social engineering, and advanced exploitation techniques to maintain access and extract sensitive information. The impact of APTs extends beyond data theft, influencing political landscapes, disrupting critical infrastructure, and shaping the future of cyber warfare. Understanding APTs requires a deep dive into their origins, tactics, and real-world case studies that illustrate their operational strategies. Incidents like Stuxnet and APT-28 demonstrate how these threats evolved to target both digital and physical systems, with consequences that can reverberate globally. Cyber defenders must continuously adapt, employing proactive threat hunting, zero-trust architectures, and global intelligence sharing initiatives to stay ahead of these adversaries. As APTs become more advanced, the lessons drawn from past attacks serve as critical guides for strengthening security postures and mitigating future risks. An overview of advanced persistent threats. APTs are not the average cybercriminal operation seen in run-of-the-mill hacking attempts. These are prolonged, highly sophisticated cyber campaigns that rely on stealth, persistence, and advanced tactics to infiltrate targeted organizations. Unlike typical cyber attacks that may be opportunistic or short-lived, APTs are characterized by their long-term presence within a network, often remaining undetected for months or even years. Their covert nature allows them to silently gather intelligence, disrupt operations, or siphon critical data without triggering immediate security alarms. These attackers adapt their methods as defenses evolve, ensuring that even organizations with strong cybersecurity postures remain vulnerable to their operations. The core motivations behind APTs extend beyond mere financial theft, with espionage being one of the most common drivers. Nation-state actors often sponsor APT groups to infiltrate foreign governments, defense contractors, and critical infrastructure to gain intelligence or technological advantages. Financially motivated APTs, while less common than espionage-driven ones, use similar techniques to access sensitive banking or corporate data for fraudulent transactions or ransomware campaigns. Some groups operate with political or ideological objectives, aiming to disrupt institutions, influence public opinion, or manipulate geopolitical landscapes. Cyber warfare and sabotage are also key motivations, where APT groups deploy cyber operations to weaken an adversary's defense, infrastructure, or economic stability, making these threats particularly dangerous on a global scale. Detecting APT activity requires a deep understanding of their operational patterns. The early stages of an APT attack often involve extensive reconnaissance, where attackers study their target's infrastructure, employee behaviors, and security gaps before initiating an intrusion. Once inside, lateral movement techniques allow them to spread across the network while avoiding detection. They employ custom malware tailored to evade antivirus solutions, often embedding themselves within legitimate system processes. APTs also rely on command-and-control or C2 infrastructure to maintain persistent connections with compromised systems. This enables them to issue remote commands, extract data, and deploy additional malware payloads. Data exfiltration occurs methodically, with attackers staging stolen information in hidden locations before slowly transferring it to external servers to avoid triggering security alerts. Several notorious APT groups operate globally, each specializing in different forms of cyber operations. Nation-state-sponsored groups, often linked to governments, conduct large-scale espionage campaigns and cyber warfare efforts. Hacktivist organizations, while not always as technically advanced as state-backed APTs, use similar persistent attack methods to target governments or corporations in pursuit of ideological causes. Financially motivated cybercriminals leverage APT techniques to conduct sophisticated fraud schemes, banking intrusions, and intellectual property theft. Some groups specialize in supply chain exploitation, infiltrating software vendors or service providers to gain access to multiple downstream targets, as seen in major incidents like the SolarWinds breach. The evolving nature of APT threats makes them particularly difficult to combat. Traditional cybersecurity measures, such as firewalls and antivirus software, are often insufficient against these highly adaptive adversaries. Organizations must implement proactive threat hunting techniques, behavioral analytics, and network segmentation to mitigate the risks associated with these persistent threats. Understanding the tactics, motivations, and indicators of APT activity is critical for security teams aiming to detect, defend against, and ultimately disrupt these sophisticated cyber operations. Case Study: Stuxnet. The discovery of Stuxnet in 2010 marked a turning point in the history of cyber warfare, revealing the extent to which digital attacks could be used to manipulate physical systems. Initially uncovered by cybersecurity researchers analyzing anomalous behavior in industrial networks, Stuxnet was found to be an exceptionally sophisticated piece of malware. Unlike traditional cyber threats aimed at stealing data or causing financial harm, Stuxnet was specifically designed to sabotage Iran's nuclear program by targeting centrifuges used in uranium enrichment. The level of complexity suggested that the attack was not the work of independent hackers, but rather a coordinated effort by nation-states. Evidence pointed to a collaboration between the United States and Israel, making Stuxnet one of the first widely known cyber weapons deployed for strategic geopolitical objectives. Stuxnet's success was largely due to its exploitation of zero-day vulnerabilities, unknown software flaws that had not yet been publicly patched by the vendors. By leveraging multiple zero days, the attackers ensured that their malware could evade detection while infiltrating highly secured environments. Since Iran's nuclear facilities were air-gapped, meaning they were not directly connected to the internet, traditional remote attacks were impractical. Instead, Stuxnet spread through infected USB drives, which unsuspecting employees or contractors plugged into industrial control system computers. Once inside, the malware specifically sought out supervisory control and data acquisition systems, SCADA, which manage the operation of the centrifuges. By manipulating their speeds beyond safe operating levels, Stuxnet caused mechanical failures while simultaneously feeding operators falsified data, preventing immediate detection. The physical destruction caused by Stuxnet was unprecedented in the realm of cyber operations. The malware successfully led to the failure of approximately 1,000 centrifuges, setting back Iran's nuclear program by months if not years. This attack demonstrated that cyber weapons could achieve objectives previously limited to conventional military operations, making digital sabotage a viable alternative to kinetic warfare. Beyond the direct impact on Iran's facilities, Stuxnet also forced governments and industries worldwide to rethink their cybersecurity strategies. Critical infrastructure operators, including those in energy, transportation, and manufacturing, suddenly realized that their systems were just as vulnerable to cyber-physical attacks. The event spurred international discussions on the ethics, risks, and potential consequences of deploying cyber weapons in geopolitical conflicts. One of the most significant takeaways from Stuxnet was the importance of supply chain security. The attackers were able to introduce the malware into Iran's nuclear program by targeting vulnerabilities in third-party contractors and supply chain networks. This highlighted how even the most secure environments could be compromised through indirect means, leading organizations to implement stricter security controls on vendors and partners. The attack also underscored the necessity of continuous patching and system updates. Many of the zero-day vulnerabilities exploited by Stuxnet were later patched, but the damage had already been done. This served as a wake-up call for organizations relying on industrial control systems, pushing them to adopt proactive cybersecurity measures rather than reactive ones. The risks posed by cyber-physical system attacks became more apparent following Stuxnet, raising concerns about the security of power grids, water treatment plants, and other essential services. Security researchers and policymakers began advocating for stronger defenses against similar threats, emphasizing network segmentation, anomaly detection, and better access controls. Stuxnet also demonstrated that cyber warfare was not a theoretical concern but a real and present danger with significant geopolitical ramifications. As countries assessed their own vulnerabilities, many ramped up their offensive and defensive cyber capabilities, leading to a global arms race in digital warfare. The concept of cyber deterrence became a critical aspect of national security strategies, with governments acknowledging that cyber attacks could provoke real-world consequences. The implications of Stuxnet extended far beyond its immediate effects, influencing cybersecurity practices, military doctrines, and international relations. The attack set a precedent for how nation-states could engage in covert cyber operations to achieve strategic objectives without direct military confrontation. However, it raised ethical and legal questions about the use of cyber weapons, especially regarding their potential for unintended consequences. As cyber threats continue to evolve, the lessons from Stuxnet remain highly relevant, serving as a case study in both the possibilities and perils of cyber warfare. Case study: SolarWinds Orion Breach. The SolarWinds Orion breach was a stark reminder of how deeply embedded vulnerabilities in trusted software can serve as an entry point for sophisticated cyber operations. Discovered in late 2020, the attack was one of the most far-reaching supply chain compromises in history, affecting both government agencies and private enterprises. The breach was particularly alarming because it was not a direct intrusion but rather an infiltration through a trusted software provider, making it difficult to detect. The extent of the compromise led to the attribution of the attack to suspected nation-state actors, with strong indications pointing to Russian intelligence operatives. The global nature of the attack underscored the reality that no organization, no matter how well-funded or secure, is beyond the reach of an APT willing to exploit a fundamental trust mechanism in software distribution. At the core of this breach was a supply chain attack that leveraged SolarWinds' legitimate update mechanism to distribute malware to thousands of organizations. Attackers inserted malicious code into routine Orion software updates, ensuring that any entity applying the updates unknowingly installed a backdoor. This method provided access to some of the most sensitive networks in the world, including U.S. government agencies, cybersecurity firms, and Fortune 500 companies. The malware, known as Sunburst, established a stealthy foothold within networks, allowing attackers to survey their targets, escalate privileges, and laterally move to more valuable assets. The sheer patience and precision of this attack demonstrated the evolving playbook of APT groups, compromising one trusted vendor to infect an entire ecosystem. One of the defining characteristics of the attack was its ability to maintain stealth over an extended period. Once inside a network, attackers used sophisticated techniques to blend in with legitimate traffic, evading detection for months. They carefully selected targets, avoiding indiscriminate exploitation in favor of strategic intelligence gathering. Credential theft played a crucial role as the attackers harvested authentication details to escalate privileges and gain deeper access into high-value systems. The scope of lateral movement within the compromised environment suggested a deep understanding of enterprise network structures, allowing attackers to bypass traditional security measures. This level of operational security enabled them to extract sensitive data while remaining undetected until the breach was eventually uncovered by a private cybersecurity firm. The aftermath of the SolarWinds attack triggered a global response, with governments imposing sanctions and reevaluating their cybersecurity policies. The breach led to an immediate loss of trust in software vendors, forcing organizations to scrutinize their reliance on third-party tools and software supply chains. High-profile entities, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and major technology firms, had to reassess their security postures and incident response strategies. The attack also highlighted the geopolitical dimensions of cyber warfare, as it was not just an act of espionage, but an operation that disrupted public confidence in the security of digital infrastructure. As a result, regulatory bodies and cybersecurity firms accelerated efforts to mandate stricter security practices for software vendors, fundamentally changing how enterprises assess supply chain risk. One of the biggest takeaways from this breach was the need for continuous vendor security assessments to prevent similar incidents in the future. Organizations began requiring more transparency from software providers, demanding detailed security assurances before integrating third-party tools. Enhanced monitoring of third-party software became a priority, with many enterprises implementing anomaly detection systems that analyze software behavior even after deployment. The attack also reinforced the need for adopting zero-trust models, shifting security strategies from implicit trust in systems and users to continuous verification of all activity. These changes, while necessary, presented new challenges, as businesses had to balance security concerns with operational efficiency and usability. Incident response readiness became a focal point in the wake of the SolarWinds breach, pushing organizations to develop proactive strategies rather than reactive defenses. Cybersecurity teams prioritized rapid detection and containment, recognizing that traditional security measures alone were insufficient to combat limitations of relying solely on perimeter defenses and emphasized the importance of defense in depth strategies. Organizations that had proactive threat hunting capabilities were better equipped to mitigate the risks posed by such sophisticated adversaries. As cybersecurity threats continue to evolve, the SolarWinds breach remains a defining case study in understanding the vulnerabilities inherent in the software supply chain and the urgent need for continuous vigilance. Case Study APT-28, also known as Fancy Bear. APT-28 is a notorious cyber espionage group widely believed to be affiliated with Russian military intelligence. The group has been active for over a decade, carrying out sophisticated cyber operations targeting political organizations, government agencies, media outlets, and military institutions. Unlike financially motivated cybercriminals, APT-28 operates with clear strategic objectives, often aligning with Russian geopolitical interests. Their activities have included intelligence gathering, election interference, and cyber influence campaigns designed to manipulate public discourse. Some of their most infamous operations have taken place during major election cycles, where they have attempted to compromise political parties, leak sensitive documents, and spread disinformation to shape voter perceptions. These actions have had far-reaching global ramifications, exposing the vulnerabilities of democratic institutions to cyber-enabled influence operations. APT-28's attack strategies rely heavily on social engineering, especially spear phishing campaigns which target high-profile individuals within government and political organizations. These attacks involve meticulously crafted emails that appear legitimate, tricking recipients into clicking malicious links or downloading infected attachments. Once access is granted, Fancy Bear deploys credential harvesting techniques, often using fake login pages that mimic legitimate services to steal usernames and passwords. In addition to phishing, the group exploits software vulnerabilities, especially in widely used platforms like Microsoft Office and Adobe Flash, to gain deeper access into the networks. Their tactics are not limited to traditional hacking. They also engage in disinformation campaigns using media channels and fabricated narratives to manipulate public opinion and sow discord among political adversaries. The impact of APT-28 cyber operations extends beyond mere data breaches, as their efforts are often aimed at destabilizing political processes. By compromising sensitive documents and selectively leaking information, they have influenced elections and political discourse in multiple countries, including the United States, France, and Germany. Their tactics go beyond digital espionage, incorporating psychological manipulation through social media and news outlets to create division and mistrust among the public. The exposure of these operations has, however, led to greater public awareness of cyber influence tactics and the role of nation-state actors in election interference. Governments and cybersecurity professionals have responded by enhancing defenses, increasing transparency about foreign cyber threats, and bolstering election security protocols to mitigate future attacks. One of the key lessons learned from APT-28's activities is the critical need for phishing awareness training among political figures, government officials, and journalists. Human error remains one of the most significant vulnerabilities in cybersecurity, and well-executed phishing attacks can bypass even the most sophisticated technical defenses. The widespread adoption of multi-factor authentication, or MFA, has also become an essential safeguard against credential theft, making it significantly harder for attackers to access accounts, even if login credentials are compromised. Beyond individual security measures, organizations and governments must continuously monitor disinformation campaigns, as cyber influence operations often extend beyond hacking into the realm of media manipulation. The ongoing battle against cyber influence campaigns highlights the need for international cooperation in addressing state-sponsored cyber threats. While individual nations have strengthened their cybersecurity postures, the global nature of cyber operations requires joint efforts to track, attribute, and counterattack these attacks. Intelligence sharing among allies, coordinated responses to cyber threats, and the development of standardized security frameworks are all crucial components of defending against groups like APT-28. As cyber warfare continues to evolve, the ability to recognize and respond to nation-state threats will be essential in maintaining the integrity of democratic institutions and global security. Best practices from APT case studies. Effective cybersecurity strategies against APTs require a shift from reactive defenses to proactive threat hunting. Traditional security measures often focus on preventing known threats, but APT actors continuously evolve their tactics, making early detection critical. Behavioral analysis and anomaly detection play a key role in identifying subtle deviations from normal network activity, helping security teams pinpoint malicious behavior before damage occurs. Regular penetration testing allows organizations to assess their defenses by simulating real-world attack scenarios, uncovering vulnerabilities that adversaries could exploit. Leveraging threat intelligence platforms provides valuable insights into emerging attack patterns and indicators of compromise, enabling security teams to adapt defenses accordingly. Continuous system audits ensure that misconfigurations, outdated security controls, and unauthorized access points do not go unnoticed, reducing the attack surface for APTs. Supply chain security has emerged as a major concern following APT incidents like Stuxnet and the SolarWinds attack, highlighting the need for greater resilience in vendor relationships. Organizations must rigorously evaluate the security postures of their third-party suppliers and service providers, as attackers often exploit weaker links to gain initial access. Ensuring software integrity during updates is another critical measure, preventing adversaries from inserting malicious code into legitimate applications. Adoption of software bill of materials practices improves transparency by tracking all components within a system, making it easier to identify and remediate vulnerabilities. Establishing strict access control for third parties, such as implementing least privilege principles and continuous monitoring, helps mitigate risks associated with external partners who have access to critical systems. Advanced detection and response strategies are necessary to counter increasingly sophisticated APT techniques. Artificial intelligence and machine learning enhance threat detection by identifying patterns and anomalies in massive datasets, allowing security teams to react faster to emerging threats. Implementing a zero-trust network architecture ensures that no entity, internal or external, is automatically trusted, requiring continuous verification for all users and devices. Endpoint detection and response, EDR. These tools provide real-time visibility into system activity, detecting and containing threats before they spread across the network. Red team and blue team exercises simulate attack scenarios, training security personnel to recognize and respond to APT tactics while improving organizational defenses through live fire simulations. The fight against APTs cannot be won in isolation. Global collaboration and information sharing are essential components of a strong cybersecurity posture. Partnering with government agencies allows organizations to stay informed about evolving threats and receive support in mitigation efforts. Industry-specific information sharing and analysis centers, ISACs, provide a platform for companies to exchange threat intelligence, enabling early warnings and coordinated responses to cyber threats. Sharing findings with computer emergency response teams, or CERTs, help disseminate knowledge across sectors, ensuring a collective defense approach against state-sponsored and financially motivated attackers. Promoting international treaties against cyber warfare establishes frameworks for responsible behavior in cyberspace, discouraging malicious activities by increasing diplomatic and economic consequences for cyber aggression. As APTs continue to refine their tactics, these best practices serve as foundational elements in strengthening cybersecurity defenses. A combination of proactive threat hunting, resilient supply chain security, advanced detection techniques, and global collaboration will be necessary to counter the persistent and evolving threats posed by sophisticated cyber adversaries. Organizations that integrate these measures into their security strategies will be better equipped to detect, prevent, and respond to APT activities, minimizing their impact and ensuring long-term resilience in an increasingly hostile digital landscape. In conclusion, the evolution of advanced persistent threats has reshaped the cybersecurity landscape, proving that cyber operations are no longer just about data breaches, but also about influence, disruption, and even physical destruction. Case studies like Stuxnet, SolarWinds, and APT-28 reveal how these sophisticated adversaries exploit vulnerabilities, manipulate systems, and conduct long-term espionage with far-reaching consequences. As attackers refine their techniques, defenders must shift from passive security measures to proactive strategies that anticipate and neutralize emerging threats. The lessons learned from these incidents highlight the urgency of continuous vigilance, innovation in cybersecurity defenses, and stronger collaboration across industries and governments. Mitigating APT risks requires a combination of technical controls, intelligence-driven defenses, and a global commitment to cybersecurity resilience. Organizations must prioritize advanced threat detection, invest in supply chain security, and ensure that security awareness extends beyond IT teams to executives, employees, and third-party vendors. Cyber warfare and digital espionage are now permanent fixtures in international relations, demanding coordinated efforts to establish norms, deterrence, and legal frameworks against malicious cyber activities. As APTs continue to evolve, the key to defenses lies not just in responding to attacks, but in staying ahead of them through continuous adaptation and relentless security innovation. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Bare Metal Cyber. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and share it. You can find all my latest content, including newsletters, podcasts, articles, and books, at baremetalcyber.com. Join the growing community and explore the insights that reached over 2 million people last year. Your support keeps this community thriving, and I truly appreciate every listen, follow, and share. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, knowledge is power.